Hi, Kevin Henry, the Group Editorial Director for UBM Advanstar's Dental Division, and I'm on a Google Hangout today with Dr. Marc Cooper of the Mastery Company. Dr. Cooper, how are you today?
I am well, thank you, Kevin, for asking. Things are good.
Great. You have your finger on the pulse of the group practices more than anybody I know in the dental industry, and I always enjoy talking to you and kind of picking your brain a little bit about where group practices are going in our industry and some of the trends that you're seeing right now. And I was wondering if you might share some of those thoughts with our viewers.
Absolutely. I think what I recommend to the viewers, if they are members of the ADA, that they go to the Health Resource Institute and look at Marco's recent work on the statistics of where dental practices are going, where personal income is going, where revenues are going, where patient visits are going, and where patient expenditures per visit is going. And you'll see that it's trending flat or downward. So the capacity for practices, whether they be solo or even small partner practices, to generate the kind of revenues and an expansive growth is probably diminishing. I think the ADA has done actually a remarkable job on this. And the other part is that the expenses of dental practice are going up. Technologies are expensive. You know, how much do you pay for one of those little radiograph things that you've got to get? $8,000 a pop, and all the new technology. So the expenses of practice are rising, and the revenue stream is decreasing. That is not a good condition for small practices or solo practices to be able to sustain themselves. Now, when you look at how one is going to do that, then you look at from a point of view of, well, if the economy of scale is going to reduce the amount of expense ratio or per patient cost, then the area where it is going to be most successful is in group practice. And so you're seeing a shrinkage of the number of solo practices, and you're seeing a much more rapid increase of larger group practices. And that's what's occurring in the industry. That makes sense, yes?
Absolutely. And is that something that you see as a very good thing for dentistry, or how do you view that?
You know, it's just interesting. The Buddhists say, and as many others, you've got two emotions that run the show, which is love and fear. And I know that dentists love their dentistry. And when they look at some kind of major change in the way dentistry is delivered, they get afraid. So group practice shows up as the enemy, not as the ally. And we talk about the enemy in a different way than we talk about allies. So you'll hear conversations throughout the dental industry about how bad the dentistry is, and there's no quality being delivered, and that they're the nemesis of really good dentistry. However, there's no proof whatsoever that that is an accurate statement. Dentists don't measure quality. I've gone to rooms, Kevin, and I've said, who in this room, and there are hundreds of dentists, raise your hand if you don't do quality dentistry. And not one person raises their hand.
Sure.
And then I ask someone to stand up and I say, how do you know you're doing quality dentistry? And no one can answer that question. Group practices have enough resources to be able to start to manage and measure quality. They're doing quality assurance programs. And if I'm a third party, of which 7 out of 10 patients have some kind of group plan, I am signing on people to come into my network. If I'm paying for it, I would like to know if they're doing quality dentistry, not because they say so, because they can show me the numbers to demonstrate that they are. In other words, group practice is beginning to accelerate the amount of quality that it can demonstrate, whereas smaller or solo practices cannot. And if you listen, there's like 20 plus states trying to limit the amount of ownership that can be done by non-dental owners. They call it corporate dentistry. Mm-hmm. However, I think that will melt over time because the FTC is going to say you can't monopolize. There's a monopoly going on here. And that monopoly probably will be taken up to a federal court or a Supreme Court, and we'll see what happens. But I think group practice has sufficient funds to really do strong lobbying that solo practice cannot.
And I know that you're going to be talking a lot about this at your upcoming summit. And I was just wondering if you could kind of give our viewers a little taste of what the summit is and what some of the things that they could expect if they're going to be there.
Well, this is our fourth summit, so we are pretty enthusiastic that there's a need out there or a want out there to learn more about how do group practices work, and if I get into this game, how do I do it? Our market is people just emerging into this particular space of group practice. The subtitle of this summit is 0 to 5, 5 to 10, and 10 to 20. In other words, 0 to 5 practices, how do I move out of this space into a larger multiple of what I've already got? And then what are the issues, what are the problems, what are the concerns that are going to arise as I go into this group practice setting? And when you get to 5 practices, there's a state change. Something occurs. And you need to change as a leader, and you need to change as a manager and understand what those changes are, because now you're bringing on non-dental professionals to assist you in moving the practice forward. And how do I do that? I've always been someone in full control. Everything has always run through me. The financing has always come from banks. Now what do I do? So from 5 to 10, we're going to talk about how one makes those evolutionary steps. Then when you get to around 10 locations, if you want to go further, and some do not, how do we get from 10 to 20? And we have speakers from each of those domains who are going to address the issues, concerns, and problems they're facing as they move through their individual spaces. We also have people who are financing these group practices, and they'll be speaking about how they're doing that. Although we have one speaker, interestingly enough, who has 30-plus practices, who did not use venture capital money or equity partners, but figured out how to finance it through his own productivity. We're also having people from the larger practices come in, the large ones, to address how these things work at the numbers that they do, such as Heartland. The executive director of the Association for Dental Service Organizations, which has the whole scope from the small ones that do around 10 million a year to the large ones that are close to $1 billion. Wow. And we're going to talk about how the whole industry is moving in certain directions and where people need to be. So the summit is really constructed and designed for dentists who are now exploring and want to move into managed group practice, and what it takes, and what are the issues, what are the concerns, and what are the processes that will be incorporated in order to do that.
So it sounds like really almost a think tank learning opportunity for a dentist to come and really the no fear environment maybe, and really learn what is the future and how things are going to go, right?
I think so. You know, there are numbers of dentists out there that are entrepreneurial, and they want to grow within this stream of multiple group practices. And there is no aggregate and no conferences and no peers that have gotten together. We're putting these things, this conference together for those folks, those dentist owners, the suppliers, the advisors, the vendors. Even we're inviting the Dental Society executives. We're inviting anybody who's interested in managed group practices to come and take a look at this. It's inevitable, Kevin. It's pretty clear. It's happened in medicine, in optical, in veterinary. It's happened in all of these domains that group practice has become the more dominant feature of each of the areas. And I'm pretty clear that it's an unstoppable force and the economic engine always determines the outcome. Therefore, I think managed group practice, if done right and done well and done in a way that brings vision, mission, values to the enterprise itself, if they can build a company that's really extraordinary, I think there's a number of dentists who really want to do that.
And can you give our viewers just a website or where they can get more information about the summit and see if that's something that's right for them?
It's going to be in Scottsdale because we like the weather there, and we know it won't be snowy or cold or rainy. It's on June 4th, 5th, and 6th, and they can go to my website, which is the Mastery Company, which is masterycompany.com, and they can find all of the outflow and the process. They can find all of the materials and information about and register there if they wish.
Sounds great. And again, we'll be putting the website at the end of the telecast here as well, so that you can make sure to log on. Dr. Cooper, I really appreciate your time, and as always, I appreciate your insight as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You take care, Kevin. Thanks for the opportunity.